All right, so this is where we're going to pick up. Hi, this is Mrs. Rondo. We are picking up with step 4, so you should have already completed steps 1, 2, and 3, and we are now on step 4. It says trace the edges of property 1 using polyline under the line tool. Increase the thickness to 4 and change the color. Use this angle and find all the properties that are congruent to property 1. You may need to rotate the angle 180 degrees to find some of them. Drag the yellow circles to highlight all the properties congruent to property 1 in yellow. Okay, so this is a lot of steps in step 4, a lot of parts to it. So we're going to start with trace the edges of property 1 using polyline under the line tool. So I'm going to go to slide 3 because that's where the map is. So here's slide 3. And I'm supposed to trace the property lines for property 1. So I'm going to come up to where we were before. I'm going to use my little fancy mouse here. So up to my tools up here to the line tool, but I'm going to click the arrow next to it where it says select line, and I'm going to come down to polyline. Okay, when I click on that, and I'm going to come over to my picture, and you can start anywhere on your line here. Excuse me, either on the parallel line or the line that we added to it. I'm going to start on the parallel line somewhere over here. And I don't need to go all the way to the arrow, but you may. I'm just going to pick somewhere on the line and click. And then you don't have to drag. You can actually just click along. So click once and you'll notice this is me just moving the mouse around. I'm not holding it down. I'm just had clicked once. Then I'm going to come to what looks like the vertex of the angle as close as I can get it. And I'm going to click again. And then I'm going to come out. I'm tracing the angle or the border of property 1, and I'm going to click again. And sorry, one more time to finish that off. There we go. All right, so then I'm going to get rid of my fancy mouse. All right, so then I'm going to, now it's selected for me. So I'm going to come up here to my, actually, I want my fancy mouse. I'm going to come up here to my tools and I want the thickness or the line weight. I want to increase it. So I'm going to increase that to 4 and I'm going to change the color. So this is the color. I'm going to make it red, but you can make it whatever color you want. And so now I have this kind of highlighted property 1. I'm going to go back to my regular mouse now, maybe. There we go. All right. So then what my goal is to grab this mouse. I'm sorry, grab this angle. Nope, not that angle. There we go. What we just created, and I'm going to move it around. So not like that. I'm going to undo that, Control Z. Nope. This really does not want me to do what I want to do. Okay, using my arrow keys, we're going to move it around. There we go. All right, so I'm looking to match up any other angles I can. So I'm going to move it around and see if I can line up the two sides. Part of that might include turning it. So if we go back to the directions for a second, I'm going to flip back to slide 5 where the directions are. So we did trace the edges of property 1. We did that using the polyline under the line tool. Increase the thickness to 4. We did that and we changed the color. Then use this angle to find all the properties that are congruent to property 1. So all the ones that we can match up. And it gives us the hint you may need to rotate the angle 180 degrees to find them. So I'm going to go back up here to my map and I'm going to rotate the angle. So I'm going to click on this. Hopefully it will agree with me. Let's see. There we go. And I'm going to grab the little dot at the top. I'm going to click and drag and it will rotate it 100 until I get to where it says 180 degrees. Hopefully you can see that 180. Then I can literally drag this. Nope. Undo. I can drag, I'm not going to drag it. I'm going to move it with my arrow keys. So I can move it around until I find maybe an angle that looks like it might match. And if I do that, it looks like it lines up with angle or with property 3. Sorry, I have so many things here going on. So just be super careful. If you select something you don't want, just hit undo. Control Z is how you undo things. But it looks like it matches up pretty nicely with that one. So the next part of the process, going back to the directions really quickly, was to drag the yellow circles to highlight properties congruent to property 1 in yellow. Okay, so that means I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to cover 3 with the yellow because that property was the same as property 1. So I'm also going to cover property 1 and property 3. So then I'm looking for more properties that will match up. And then if we look at the final directions, then step 5 is trace the edges of property 2 using the polyline tool. So you're going to do that process again. And you're going to find all the properties that are congruent to property 2. And then you're going to drag blue circles to finish it off. And that wraps it up. Those are your instructions for steps 4 and 5.